Hmm. So hey Nura, hey Gautam. Hey, thanks a lot, brothers. Happy Ganesh Chaturthi to you as well. So I messed up a little bit. I think I had this plan of making an early broadcast so that people can hop on without any problem. For that, I had to create the broadcast early in the morning when I was posting the stream because I needed the link. And after that, I forgot that I created the broadcast and I shut down my PC. So I lost that broadcast. And when I started again and started streaming, the link's not working anymore. But yeah, I think uh, did I upload the right link? Let me see. I hope this one works. Mm, yeah, I posted the right link. So the only thing left to do now is to get rid of this one. All right. Let's bounce some balls. Hell yeah. We're gonna bounce some balls today. And problem is, this is an unprepared session. Once again, I'm here with an unprepared session. And the timings couldn't be worse than this because my neighbor started his construction. He's constructing his house. So these people started the construction work just 5 minutes before. So there can be a bit of a background construction noises. Which digital tablet am I using? This is Cintiq. For beginners, I would suggest either go with any Yuan tablet or Art Pen tablet. Anyway, so let's see how we gonna approach the overall thing. It's gonna be around one hour 15 minute of session, and then I can take last 15-20 minutes for clearing up your questions or any doubts. And I'm going to cover like absolute basic of grease pencil. So those who doesn't even know how to use grease pencil, they should be able to make a bouncing ball after this session. That's my goal. So yeah, we're gonna start with in grease pencil. I think I covered some basics in my last week's live stream, last Saturday's live stream. So I'm gonna just go through them real quick, and then we'll have to learn the first is the basics, right? Like draw, edit, sculpt, stuff like that, and of course object mode. Then I think timeline, that is important. In timeline, we should learn how to change frame rate. Then we should learn how to manipulate, manipulate, manipulate frames, and general play pause stuff. Then a little bit of an advanced concept, that is onion skin. I mean, it's not advanced, but compared to these two, you can say it's on a next level 2. After onion skin, I think we should be pretty much done. Oh, we need to learn about layers, of course, and we would need to learn about colors or materials. Now, there are multiple ways you can color your strokes in grease pencil or your fills, but we should just be looking at materials rather than colors. By colors I mean vertex colors, B colors. And finally, yeah, that's it about grease pencil. And for animation, first thing we should be doing is perfect. That's how we're going to do animation. You're just going to make it. No theory for animation. So, let's begin. I am using Blender 4.2. So, if you have this version, it would be best. But anything lower than this, and I think grease pencil kind of works the same till 3.6. So yeah, anything will work unless it has the same features as in Blender 4.2. First and foremost, you have two ways to create 2D animation in Blender. You can either do your entire 2D animation setup on your own, which is you have to delete all the objects, create a new grease pencil object. Where is it? Yeah, and then you have to assign materials or make layers and set up camera, stuff like that. So either you can do it on your own, which will have higher level of control, or you can start with new and 2D animation. This is a pre-built preset made by Blender people. So it just does all of that for you. But it has certain things that I don't like. For example, the smoothness of the brush or the amount of vertex it creates when you're drawing. So that gets a little too heavy when you're drawing a lot of frames. So that's why I prefer making my own setup, but for the workshop, we will roll with this. Again, I'm not comfortable with this horizontal resolution because, again, Instagram people, yeah? We all are Instagram people. So we need vertical resolution. This is much more comfortable to look at. Nice. Furthermore, once you have this setup, by the way, you just know how to change the resolution from output settings, output panel, and you change these two values, and whatever these are, your camera will adjust according to it. So I labeled it 1080 by 1920 and setting the percentage at 100% so that it renders the full frame instead of half resolution or whatever percentage you have set here. Now anyways, once you're here, if you middle click and is it middle click? Yeah, if you middle click and move your mouse, so you can just come out of the camera view just like that. To go back to the camera view, you have to press 0 on your keyboard. Now 0 is not that other 0, it's numpad 0. So make sure you have this numpad keyboard here. That will be really helpful. So you move out of the camera and there you have it, your 3D viewport, and if you draw something right now, you'll see that it's drawing on a 2D plane. Pretty simple, nothing so special right now. Now you must be thinking, where is it drawing this? So if you look at here, it's already, there's an object created and the name of that object is stroke. When you open it up, you will see a layer, two layers called lines and fills. So this object, this swirly line here, that's a sign of a grease pencil object. So if you want to come out of this object, because you can just keep on drawing whenever you put your mouse down and you try to do anything, and you try to move your mouse, you are just drawing on that grease pencil object. If you wanna let's say move the object itself, so you have to go to this panel on the top and you'll see this draw mode. Instead of draw mode, go to object mode, and now you can kind of move it. See, so you can move that object around. If you want to rotate that, so you can do that as well. Scale it, and when you look at it again from the camera, so now this is what you have. So that way, even if you have a let's say you have a grease pencil object and you have drawn like a flat drawing, which is kind of a wall design or something, you can duplicate it and arrange it in such a way that it makes the entire room, or you can make a perspective out of it. So that's the object form of grease pencil. Now if you click on this again, you'll see other modes as well. One is edit, sculpt, draw, which we were in right before we went to object mode. Then weight paint and vertex paint, this is none of our concern. But let's go back to edit mode and see how this grease pencil object works. The other way of going into the object mode, draw mode, edit mode is you can press tab on your keyboard, and if you have pie menu on, which is a bit of a thing you have to do in preferences, but if you press tab, it will open up this pie menu for you. You can go to all these modes that we just saw from here itself. So you can go to edit mode from here, and once you go to edit mode, if you drag your mouse and try to select anything, you can select these strokes, and essentially move them around or rotate them or whatever, or you can do all those operations. So it's gonna select all these strokes for you. But if you wanna go on a deeper level, or on a deeper level, then you can click here and select the vertex mode. So now it will select one single vertex for you. Another thing for the navigation though, I never told you how to zoom in, zoom out, and move your camera. So when you move, to move your camera, you press shift on your keyboard and middle click, and then you can pan your camera. For the rotate, I think I already told you, just have to middle click and drag. So that's rotate. And for the zoom in, zoom out, either scroll or either press control on your keyboard and zoom in, zoom out. Yeah, easy. To go to the front view, you can press 1 on your keyboard. Again, it's 1 on your numpad. So yeah, we have seen the vertex. So you can select all these vertices. You can move them around. You can adjust them if something's not according to your drawing. So you have like very granular, I think that's the word, level of control here. So we have seen object mode, draw mode, and edit mode. Now let's go back to sculpt mode. So if you select the sculpt mode, all of a sudden you start seeing this circle. You can increase or decrease the size of the circle by using these brackets. Now what are these? Square brackets on a keyboard. So the right square bracket, I think that's the right one, increases the brush size. The left square bracket decreases the brush size. And if you click and draw, try to draw, then you can kind of, it's like a liquefy effect. So you can move your strokes like that. There are some other tools here as well. This one is swirl. So it does this. I don't know where can you use it, but if you find it useful, there is pinch. And I think to unpinch it, you press control on your keyboard. So while pressing control, if you draw, it will unpinch. If you're just using without control, it will pinch. I don't know what is this. I never used it though. Yeah, makes sense. Is it clone? Clone. Dang. We have a clone toolbar. I never realized we have a clone toolbar in Blender. So, I think this is done. This is all done. Now it's time for timeline. Since I messed up so much, I'm going to delete it. Delete this object. To delete it, you can press X on your keyboard and it will give you a prompt of delete or cancel. So obviously you pressed X, so you want to delete. So click on delete, simple. And now to create a new object, again, go press Shift A, crease pencil, and I just create a blank one. It will by default be created at the center of the of this 3D world. Now to draw in it, go to draw mode, Blender froze. Blender froze. Come on. No, it's working. And you can draw. So this object works fine. For the timeline, let's go back to camera view and we'll draw something. Let's say I'll just write down 1. Then I go to next frame and I have this auto key on, so nothing to worry about here. And then 2, go to next frame, write down 3, go to next frame, write down 4 and 5. And I didn't know about this, but when you create 2D animation project from here, they by default have onion skin on. What onion skin does is it shows you the next and the previous frame that you have, the drawing of the next and the previous frame. So the previous one is green and next one is blue in color. You can turn it off if you want to. I think it's here. Yeah, in this thread icon, you can turn off the onion skin, so it goes away. For now, we'll just will not use onion skin for now. The other thing you might have noticed is we have a bunch of frames here, and each time I scroll through the timeline, every single one of these frames have different drawings. I can move the timeline by middle click and drag. I can zoom in the timeline by middle click with control. And each of these frames are next to each other. So if you try to play your animation, it goes really fast. Yeah, so to space them out, you can select these keyframes and move them around. There is one single way. The other way is to use the shortcut, which is G. So your keyboard, your mouse cursor has to be on the timeline, and if you press G on your keyboard, you can move these frames around without having to touch the screen. So you're just hovering your you're hovering your pen or moving your mouse without clicking. So let's say I'll put the frame at 10th frame and the remaining one at 20, 30 and 40, and then zoom it out. So that's your animation playing right there. Pretty simple. And this is how we're gonna make the entire bouncing ball as well. It's just a bit of timing spacing thing. Oh, I never realized we might have to talk about 2D animation principle, a few of them. I think we'll have to talk about ease, in and out, and we have to talk about squash and stretch. What else? I don't see anything else, just for the bouncing ball. So I've just told you how to manage your keyframes by moving them. In this particular example though, if you see, we just space them out by 10 frames, all of them equally. So there is an easy way, and this might come handy to you, which is this. So what you can do is, instead of moving each of these frames, you can press S10 on your keyboard, and it automatically spaces them out by 10 frames. So now it's on 11th, 21, 31 and 41 because the first frame is 1. How does that work? This basically scales everything. So G is for move, S is for scale. So if you press scale, you can see you can kind of stretch all these frames on the timeline. If you press a particular number, let's say 4, so it scales the entire frame by 4 times. While doing this, you have to be careful about your cursor position. So if it's at 5, so your frame is going to scale in the negative direction, which is something you don't want. So make sure you know where your cursor is placed and then scale those frames. I think, yeah, that should be more than enough. Now, to change the frame rate of your animation, it's from here. You have to go into output panel, and you see the frame rate here. You can change it to whatever you want. I generally work at 24 FPS, but whenever I'm making these early stages animation where I just do like rough drawings and stuff, so I set it to custom and change it to around 8 FPS, or sometimes I work at 4 FPS as well. So it's up to you. Generally just leave it at 24 and try to scale the frames or move the frames in the timeline instead of changing the frame rate, because you might accidentally forget changing it back. Now, so timeline, manipulate frames, play pause. For play pause, you can press space on your keyboard. So if you press space, done. And again space to pause the animation. If you press escape while playing, so it goes back to the frame where it was before. So it is, escape is like stop and space is like pause when you press it again. To go back to the first frame, you can press shift and left arrow key. To go to the last frame of your animation, shift and right arrow key. Now if you just want to move by one single frame, you can always press this right and left arrow keys to navigate the timeline. So that's also possible. Okay, so that's, I think, timeline's done. Onion skin. As you all know, you can turn on the onion skin from here, and this basically shows you the previous drawing or the and the next drawing. So here, let's say I want it to start slow, so I can now go to edit mode, select all my drawings or strokes and move it here somewhere and scale it at the same time while pressing S. And if I press S, Z, so it's going to scale in the Z direction. So after doing this, if I turn off the onion skin again from here, then you can see the first frame didn't move much, and the second frame, which is 3 right now. What the fuck am I doing? No. So the second frame didn't move much, the drawing on the second frame, and the drawing on the third frame moved by a lot because I just changed it. So that way it's easier for me to make these changes if I have onion skin on. But you can turn on and off onion skin from, I think, 3 or 4 places in Blender, and that's where it gets really confusing. One way is from here, right, which is on the top header panel. The other way is if you go to these data properties inside the grease pencil, and you see this onion skin option. So if you turn it off, that as well enables or disables the onion skin, but it only works for that particular layer, not for the entire grease pencil or not for the entire scene. Here it turns off the onion skin for entire scene. So even if you have multiple layers with multiple drawings and all of them have onion skin on, this can turn off onion skin for all of them, while from here you have to manually turn them off from individual layer. Furthermore, you have these materials here, and on these materials you will also see showing ghost. Now I don't think this should make any sense, but we have this feature. So if you turn this off, that as well disables the grease pencil onion skin. So if, let's say, somehow your onion skin is not working, you might want to check all these 3 places. I think there's one more place where you can turn off the grease onion skin. Yeah, this will be a bit too confusing for you, because then I'll have to explain you all these things, which is gonna be quite a thing. Yeah, let's forget that. Let's just check these 3 places. It is unlikely that you'll run into an issue where you have turned off your onion skins from here somewhere. Now, we should talk about layers and materials. So right now, if you go to materials, there's a black material that's already made for us by Blender, and you can see its color is black. But I can go to this base color. Is the background noise too much for you guys? Yeah, I think it is. I can see it moving. Anyways, I think this session will have to live with those noises. So from here you can change the color of your existing strokes or your new strokes, whatever. But whenever you change the color of this material, it's gonna change the color of all the strokes that you have drawn using this particular material. You can create more of them by pressing this plus icon and clicking on new. So it gives you two options, stroke and fill. If you click on stroke, it basically works like this. If you click on fill, it's gonna create a filled surface. Now again, you can change the color of this filled surface as well. It works the same like in strokes. You can increase or decrease the alpha as well. So there is your option for creating the stroke and the fill. So this can be handy when you have just the outline of the bouncing ball and now you want to fill. So you can select the material and you can fill the color. Of course, you have to do it in a different layer that I'm going to come to now, and change the color. So as of now, when we try to fill, what we did was we just drew on top of the stroke. This is not what we want. The fill should be behind the stroke. To do that, we can go into layers here. And right now we just have one layer. So this layer has all the drawings that we have made so far. If I create a new layer and I name it, oh, this is on the top, I think. Yeah, this is new. I name it colors. First one is lines. And I move it down. You can't drag it, so you have to use these two arrows. And on this layer, if I fill the color now, so it goes behind that stroke that we have drawn. If I turn off the lines, so you can see all the strokes are gone. This is where all the fill stays. So that is basics of the layers and materials. So we can check this out. You can check this out. Alright, that's all about basics of grease pencil that you guys should know before you can start animating. We'll move on to actual doing the bouncing ball animation. Again, I'll create a new file. Oh, sorry, new 2D animation. First and foremost is, we are making this vertical bouncing ball. We are not making like, something that goes forward. It's just a simple vertical bouncing ball. The further this horizontal bouncing ball, maybe I can take a session about it next week or sometime. But for now, we're gonna stick with like very simple stuff since it's the beginning. Now, to make that, first thing we would need is a ground. So we have two layers already. I'll rename it and call it BG. So this is gonna hold all the background element. For example, the ground, the sky, the plane, whatever you wanna add. So let's say our ground stays here somewhere. Yeah, the brush stroke is really thin. 28. To increase the radius of your brush, you can use these radius option from here, or you can again use the left and right brackets to scale the size of your brush. And I think instead of calling this BG, we'll call it guides. And we would need a vertical line as well, so that our bouncing ball stays on one single. What the hell? What's going on? I can't draw straight lines. So yeah, we'll try to keep a bouncing ball on this line. I'll just do a quick fixing by moving it somewhere over here. The top doesn't matter because we are not going that high. I think our bouncing ball should be from here to here. Also, I'll just make the shape right in the beginning so that it doesn't scale. We can just measure the scale of our ball from these guide frames or guide layer, and then reduce the opacity by this much. We'll lock it so we don't accidentally draw on it, and this one gonna be rough. Now to start with bouncing ball, let's have something bigger brush size lying on the ground. And then it's gonna go up from here. It's gonna reach its highest point, and then again come back down and settle down at the same place. So the first frame and last frame would be the same. So it's gonna be an infinite loop. If you just play it, it's gonna be a seamless infinite loop. Now to make this the last frame as well, I can just duplicate it. To duplicate the current frame. To duplicate that, you can press Shift D on your keyboard and move it around. So this is kind of the same frame. The first and last frame are the same. Now, if you just wanna jump back and forth to these two frames and nothing in between, instead of using mouse or pen, you can use up and down arrow keys as well. So that way, it just jumps on the frame and nowhere else. It doesn't go to the remaining frames. And I'll place it somewhere over here, like very close to each other. So 1, 2, 3, and here I'll have a top frame. Now, one thing you might have noticed, even if I draw, the drawing still stays, even though I have a new frame created here. To this is happening because of this onion skin. So the onion skin is a bit too dark. If you reduce down the opacity, can it does that? Can it do that? That's weird. Opacity from here. Oh, so the opacity works from here, not from there. Actually, I don't need onion skin right now, so I'm just gonna get rid of it, and we'll erase this. So that basically creates a new frame for us. So what I do is I go to any frame, place a tiny dot, and it creates a new frame and erase it back. So I get the new frame instead of using the shortcut to create a new frame. That way it works better for me. And in the middle frame, our ball would be somewhere over here. Right. So now when I go to first frame, second frame, and third frame, it basically goes up and comes back. Now we want to add the in-betweens. So these are important keyframes. You can call them keyframes because these are important drawings of our animation. So I space them out, and now I have one more frame in between where I can draw the in-betweens. Now if you try to understand the bouncing ball, the way it works is when the ball goes from down to up, it speeds up and then it starts to slow down. And when it's going from top to bottom, it starts slow it gradually speeds up. So why does this happen? One of the reason, the only reason is gravity. So and the gravity is constantly pushing everything down. So that's what is happening. If you have your ground here, the gravity is constantly pushing anything that's on the earth's surface against this ground. And the way anything works is, let's say this is you standing on the ground. You constantly exert a force to counter that gravity. So every time you stand, you sit down, you do anything like doing a push-up or anything, you are kind of fighting against the force of the gravity. So you are pushing that force upwards. And that's what your legs are doing whole day. Whenever you're standing, legs has to fight this force to make you stand up. Right, so although it doesn't feel like that, but that's always the case, because since you have been doing since your childhood, you never notice that your legs are constantly fighting the battle against gravity. And that's why it's one of the strongest muscle out there, because it exerts the maximum amount of force all the time. But yeah, so here how gravity works is, when a ball is going up, at every single point or every fraction of time, gravity is pushing a force against the upward motion of this ball. It's going to be a little bit of science thing, but I urge you to stay with me. This is important. So the force of the ball is to go up. That's the force where this ball is putting its force, and gravity is just countering it by every fraction of second. Right. So over the time, the force that this ball has start to reduce. Right. It start to getting smaller and smaller against the gravity, and at this point, the ball which is going up has absolutely no energy left to push against the gravity, and that's where it reaches the top, which is kind of a floating state. So at this point, the ball is just floating in the air and not moving anywhere. But gravity is relentless. So gravity pushed again, and from here the ball has no other option, because it has no energy left to go up. So it just has to come down every time, right? Every time ball tries to go up. Now, the reason it goes up is because whenever you throw a ball at a surface, it hits the surface. Whatever velocity the ball has gets converted into kinetic energy, and that kinetic energy pushes the ball back up. So it goes with that. The ball takes away that kinetic energy with itself and start its fight against the gravity, until ball has all the energy gone and it starts to come down again. So this cycle repeats over and over again, and ball keeps on bouncing, and ultimately it settles down. Now another question you might ask is, why the height of the bounces reduces every time? It's because whenever ball hits the ground, some sort of energy is released, either into sound or heat, or it's released into impact. So every time ball hits the ground, because of or either friction, so because of all that stuff, its kinetic energy start to drop down by every bounce. If we live in an ideal world where whenever you hit something, there is no energy loss, so this ball would bounce infinitely over and over again. But that's not the case, since the ball loses its energy every time it hits, so it ultimately settles down. Another important question that raises when you look at bouncing ball is, why does it start slow and gradually speeds up? What's the reason? So to explain this, there's a lot of science behind bouncing ball. And let me tell you, if you understand bouncing ball really well, this can basically be used anywhere in any animation. Any sort of animation can be simplified by just applying bouncing ball principles to it. So even if there's a lot of theory, I would suggest you to understand that theory before actually jumping into the animation. So yeah, why does this distance increases? So let's tackle that. Now let's say, how can I explain this? Yeah, I already explained this in a certain way where it from down when ball goes up, it has a certain sort of kinetic energy, and over the time it loses that energy by fighting against the force of gravity. The reason this distance reduces is the gravitational force is constant. It's 9.8. What's the unit of force? Here, I forgot the unit of force, but something, let's say it's a constant unit of force that's acting downwards. Right, this one, the force that ball has, this is variable. So this keeps changing, and over the time, when this, but I'm saying the same thing. I'm still saying the same thing. Let me take a quick introspection. Yeah, I think that explanation was more than enough. The force explanation that I gave you. What I can tell you is, the other thing is, while going down, why does it increases? So here, ball has like zero energy so far whatsoever, and by adding a bit of a gravitational force, it gains speed. Right now, the ball is already in speed from here to here, and the gravitational force acts again, so the speed increases even further, and gravitational force acts again, so it's acting all the time. Like if this is the entire second and you divide it in milliseconds, and then you have nanoseconds, and you know that smaller to smaller fraction of second, the gravitational force is constantly acting. So even though the speed of the ball is increasing, the gravitational force still keeps on adding to that speed, and that's why over the time, this arrow should be the same, the gravitational arrow, and because it's adding up to that downward force, the speed of the ball keep on increasing. Now if there's a case where let's say how can I explain this one? Yeah, so when ball is going down, there's no friction as well, because it's in the air. The friction, there is friction, but it's so low that it doesn't act that good. So there's nothing stopping the ball. So if this ball was on the ground, let's say, and you and you put a force of 9.8 g, right, the gravitational force, or you can say, I think it's called 1g, 1 gravitational force on this ball, so it go to a certain distance and then it's gonna stop. So again you put down the force and then again it's gonna stop. So if it has to roll on the ground and you put the gravitational force on this ball, the ball will go on the same speed. And the reason is because ball is stopping constantly because of the friction. Yeah. So since here in the air nothing is stopping the ball, so its speed keep on increasing. While going up, there is a gravitational force that is stopping the ball every time. So that's why its speed is decreasing. So I hope you understand a little bit of it. Because a bit is enough right now. You don't have to become a scientist of understanding how gravitational pull and push works. But even if you understand a bit of it, over the time, when you keep on doing this exercise over and over again, and you will start seeing the implementation in multiple examples. For example, somebody is jumping, so you see that there. Somebody is doing a parkour, so you see the implementation of bouncing ball there. A car drive or anything happens. So over the time, you start seeing this at multiple places, and this concept of how gravity works and how the forces works against each other, they start to settle in. So it becomes quite natural. So even if you don't understand the fully this concept to full extent, it's fine. You just have to you can just assume for now that anything goes up slows down eventually, and anything goes down speeds up. That only happens on Earth's surface. I mean, on other planets as well, but it will change according to the force, gravitational force. But for now, since we are only talking about Earth, whatever goes up has to stop at certain point. Yeah. Now with that, we can get rid of all these drawings on the second and the fourth frame, and we need to make an in-between. So this is where we need onion skin again, the first and the last frame. And I don't think we need guides anymore, or we can reduce the opacity by this much. Barely see it. So what happens in the now for the animation, this is the middle frame. That means the final and the initial state of the animation, and we need to put this frame somewhere in between, which represents the motion or the speed. So generally the middle frame can be this, right, because it's in the absolute middle. So this indicates that the ball was here, and then it has to be a bit bigger. So this indicates that the ball was here and it went up, right, and came down. By the way, I'm using up and down arrow key to move to the frames directly. So that's how the in-between works. It adds the extra motion that you're missing from a keyframe drawings. But with the explanation that we just had and understood that the speed ultimately slows down, it nowhere reflects that speed. It kind of looks like a constant speed. Yeah, so just to tell you right now, just to make it really simple, the in between for this bouncing ball should be somewhere over here. So it goes like this, right? And so when you add more keyframes now, because these are not the only frames that we're gonna add in the animation, so furthermore will have to add more frames. So those frames can be added over here and here and here and here. So see, we are kind of getting that movement of increasing the speed first and then decreasing it. Now there is a particular word for this, and that word is called, I think, ease out. As far as I know, I think from fast to slow, it should be ease out. Let me cross check. Ease out is fast to slow question mark. Yes, ease out is animation effect that starts quickly and slows down. So yeah, this is ease out, right? And the way ease out works is just like we discussed. Initially it is fast and then it is slow. To simply to make such kind of effect, it's always preferable to add a key, to add a drawing closer to your last frame and farther away from your first frame. So let's say we move these frames one position away from each other, and if I have to draw ease out movement from here to here, it is generally should be here, closer to the last frame, which is this one, the last frame, and further away from the first frame. Or if last and first is confusing, then closer to the next frame and further away from the previous frame. I think that's way more simpler. Now this thing, what we just did right now, this thing is called spacing. That's a principle, entire animation principle on this, called spacing. So the way you put your drawings, or how you put your drawings away from each other when you split them into multiple frames, that way of putting drawings is called spacing. I think I'm mostly right on this one. But yeah, for now, I think that should do it. So that way you can create ease out. Now, for the reverse motion where the ball is speeding up going downwards, it's exact opposite. So this moment, since the ball has to be like this, where it's slow first and then it speeds up later. So this is called ease in, when it's slow in the beginning and fast in the end. This one is ease out. Now, I said exact opposite in terms of the movement, right? From fast to slow and slow to fast. But when it comes to the spacing, they're kind of almost the same. So the previously when the ball is going from down to up, you have your frames farther apart in the beginning and then they come closer by the end. When the ball is going down, you have your frames closer in the beginning and they're farther apart by the end. So they kind of are reverse, but when you look at them according to the drawing placement, it's kind of same here. Yeah, so it's just the opposite movement and not the opposite placement of the frames. By that I mean you won't place this frame here somewhere. That is, by doing that, what you are doing is essentially creating two ease outs. So the ball is fast and slow, and then again ball is fast and slow. To be honest, I think if you find this like why can't it happen, if this question arises inside your head, then you should try to make a bouncing ball where it's fast and then it slows down, and again while dropping it's fast and it slows down. So you'll see why it doesn't look natural. But yeah, so that's ease in and ease out for you. So we'll try to stick to those principles for this bouncing ball, and we'll place our keyframes according to that. Now this is upward motion, and for the downward motion, again the ball should be here somewhere, or maybe here. This session almost sounds too confusing. Even if I try to recall these words inside my head, I can see that it's really confusing to understand. So goes up, goes here somewhere, comes down, and boom, drops. So we can even move it somewhere over here, because initially we put it here while going up. So going down, it can be somewhere near that place. Don't have to be exact position, but somewhere near. Now if you try to play this animation, let's change the end frame from here to here, right? 11 frames, and try to play this animation. Too fast. Too fast. We'll have to add squash and stretch. Holy shit, we don't. What? I already extended. Yeah, I already used 1 hour. Shit. We wouldn't have time left to make the squash and stretch. That would need. That explanation also needs some time. So how about this? Maybe I can cover squash and stretch next weekend, and today we'll just make the bouncing ball. Nothing, no special squash and stretch thing. We'll just make the simple bouncing ball. So this was too fast, right? This was too fast. So we'll do the same thing that we learned, which is S2. So just scale the frames 2 times, and I'll increase the end from here to maybe 20. Yeah. Nice. This is coming out. So now you can see the movement. It kind of goes up, comes down, goes up, comes down. You can see that, right? And we haven't made a lot of drawings. It's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 4 drawings actually. 5th one is just a repeat. We can already see the movement happening. Now let's add the frames on the middle of all these frames. Again, from here, since it's ease out, it has to be somewhere over here. Now that's the question you can ask. How would I know that it has to be here? So this is where you have to keep certain things in mind. Try to see the distance between this and this, right? And from here to here. So this is kind of small. This is like really small distance from here to here. And if we are making ease out movement, this one has to be bigger than that. It can be even equal. And this one has to be bigger than all the previous gaps that we have above it. That's how you're going to get that low speed kind of thing. You know, the speed slows down. And you can use that kind of logic while making it, but the only thing that will help you is after you make your drawings, you try to play it and you see whether it's working well for you or not. So this is closer to the last next frame and farther away from the previous frame. Let's do that here. I have a habit of keep editing my drawings because I don't get them right in the first go. Yeah, so now let's play it. We'll see if everything looks fine or not. It kind of does. Yeah, the spacing seems fine. If you feel like something is not going right, then you can always go into edit mode. Turn on your onion skin. By the way, what I'm doing, turning on and off the onion skin is through the overlay mode. So if you turn off overlays, it turns off everything. Like you can see the grid lines here, that goes away, the camera goes away, everything just goes away. You just see your object, nothing else. So I generally use this shortcut. If you have the pie menu enabled in your preferences, you can press Z and go up, so it turns off the toggle overlay for you. Sorry, turns off overlay for you. So I was saying, if you wanna space them further, or you can want to adjust the speed, you can always go back to edit mode and try to change the spacing from here as well. Now, one thing you will notice that it's kind of stuck at the end. That's because we have these extra frames running after the after the last frame. So we need to move it here. So it goes, and then there's one frame gap. It hits the ground and goes back up again. So this frame the animation will never reach to this frame. Now it bounces. Now it bounces, and it bounces a bit too strong. But I think it's fine. So the last step, now we can make this animation a bit more smoother by adding all this in between frames. Also, we can try to scale it even further and see whether the slower animation looks better or not. This is too slow. So I think we can just add in between frames now. Now, I generally stop at this point because I don't make my animation on ones. So this is the time where I stop on twos, or sometimes even I stop at threes. But since you are practicing and this is the beginning of your animation, I would recommend to make every single frame, to draw every single frame. If it looks hectic to you, unfortunately it is. There is no other way. So the only way is to just keep on drawing your frames over and over again. Try to get into this habit of drawing as much as you can. Later on, when you go on advanced level, you have the options to manage your workflow, but initially don't run away from the hard work. I'm just adding frames so that my current drawing is farther away from the previous, and closer to the next frame. At this point, I don't think I need guides anymore. Yeah. Now we can just observe the upward movement first. Yeah. Coming out well. Now for the downward movement, again, going downward, it's not gonna be closer to the next frame because we are making ease in now. So it has to be closer to the previous frame and farther away from the next frame. It's the exact opposite of what we did before, but the only similarity is the spacing wise, the spacing of these two frames are gonna be almost same. Yeah, let's see. Looks fine. I think while going up, it goes up a bit too much. So we can try to tone it down just by a little. This is weird, what the hell? What? This makes no sense. So it has to be here, here and here. I think I messed up something, or maybe I accidentally missed a keyframe. Yeah, and then while going down, yeah, this has to be here as well. This is too strong, so we'll move it here. Move this one here. Move this one a little down. This one too. Yeah. Nice. Now let's do something to jazz up this animation a bit more. We're gonna create shadow. And instead of having the stroke, this time we are using solid fill, which is something gray, which is fine. What we want is, initially we'll see this much of a shadow. As the ball keeps on going away, we'll remove the shadow by absolute 0. Right, so it's like boom, gone. And when coming back up again, we need to put this frame here. Actually, we can just duplicate these frames. So this can go here and this can go here. By doing that, you see that shadow disappearing. Right. Also, if you want to make it a bit stylized, you can just do that. I don't know, will it even make sense or not? Let's see. It's like shadows trying to catch up to the ball, but failed eventually. And after this, you can just fill. You can create a new frame, new layer, and call it fill. Use a fill tool. Make sure your drawings are closed fully, and we'll create a new fill. And instead of stroke, turn on this fill option and make it something like this. Say. Yeah, so I think you have to double click every time you want to fill a color. First time it takes this some boundaries observation, and then it fills the color. To change that, I think you can just turn off the visual aids. Is that the thing? Yeah, if you turn off the visual aids, then you can just fill this in one single one single click. And there you go. So that's bouncing ball. Ladies and gentlemen. Damn, the session took a lot more than I imagined. I thought I would be able to finish entire squash and stretch and Blender basics and bouncing ball, everything in one single session within an hour and a half. Was totally incorrect for 100%. What I need to do is maybe I need to take 2 live streams every week so that the learning pace is a bit faster than now, because every week this smaller of a session would not do. Let me see if I can figure out some time on maybe Wednesday night every week and then Saturday afternoon. So these 2 times I can just have these teaching live streams. Anyways, we can just go to the chat. Let's see what's going on. Do you guys have any doubts or not? Which digital tablet are you using? Answered that already. But the balls are here, my man. These are all the balls you need. How does the scribble become a ball? What? So scribble become a ball. I don't know if that's a technical question about Blender. I'll show you something. I'll show you something really nifty technique. Although I know if I show it, you'll be using it to make your bouncing balls. You shouldn't use it, by the way, for your first animations, because literally your target is to practice 2D animation, not to be quick at 2D animation. So just practice it as much as you want. Be honest with your own practice. But here's a very nice shortcut. So let's say you drew something, right? Or let's say you are making a ball, but it's not becoming a sphere. It's not absolutely spherical. So you can go to edit mode, select your stroke, press Ctrl Alt Shift S, and scroll. Oh, sorry, not Ctrl Alt Shift S. I think Shift Ctrl S. Yeah. So press Shift Ctrl S, and then move your cursor left and right. And check this out. You have a perfect sphere, and this works everywhere. So if you have like something like this, then again select this, Alt Shift and S, boom. So everything is a sphere. You drew a human, and you're like, nah, I wanted to draw sphere. How did it become human? Simple. Alt Shift S. But yeah, don't use that. Don't use that while you're practicing. Use it in your client work, in something where you have the limit of time to accomplish something faster. But stay away from these shortcuts or tricks in your practice. They're gonna harm you in the long run. Also, it won't work in squash and stretch, so I don't know how useful it is. Extreme private, yeah, this stream's gonna stay public forever, for a pretty long time, not forever. Shadow lights, so shadow lights is gonna be has to be totally different session, because it's almost like 2D animation. You know, those are extra lines you're drawing on top of your animation. So you'll have to manage those lines as well. Make sure there's no amount of wiggle. Make sure they are following the same principle that your bouncing ball is following. So all the shadows highlights has ease out and ease in movement as well. So it's quite a bit of a thing. I think it has to be different session altogether. Hello Madhur, I hope you're doing all right. Mafia Bala, I'm fine. I'm fine. Thank you for asking. Does at some point speed gets constant? Speed will be constant when there is absolutely no force from any direction. No friction force, no gravitational force, no air viscosity. So when there is nothing on some object, it's gonna go away on a constant speed. You just have to push it or give it a slight nudge, and then it keeps on floating in one single direction. When you're talking about bouncing ball, no, absolutely not. Even if it looks like here, initially, it's going on a constant speed, it's not. Practically speaking, you will see the decline of speed from here to here, even this much. No matter how fast the ball is, um, as far as it's pushing against the gravity, it's gonna slow down. And no matter how fast the ball is, as far as it's going in the direction of gravity, it's gonna speed up. So yeah, if I adjust frame and timeline, does it mean I adjust spacing too? Um, yeah, technically, I think yeah, this is correct. You are somehow adjusting the spacing as well, because now your two frames are further apart from each other. So let's say previously 1 second, in 1 second you had 3 frames at 1 meter distance, right? Let's say that. But now since you moved it to 2 seconds, so all these 3 frames got split up into 2 seconds, and now they are zero 0.5 meters apart instead of 1 meter. So yeah, if you scale up your timeline or move your frames, then you are kind of adjusting the spacing as well. So ball looks alive. Yeah, I'm glad it looks alive, you know. Does it really look alive? Yeah, I think more than alive, the word is you're looking for is believable. And that's the beauty of adding weight, or if you add all those sciences into your animation, it start to look believable. And that is really important when it comes to animation. So you can have all the exaggerated movement, you can have all the unrealistic characters in the world, but you can still make them look believable. They will start to look alive, or they'll start to feel alive. It's because you have those animation principles applied right at the right place. So that's the beauty of this animation. If you can make things feel alive, you can make them look believable. Like how can I say, like the Beauty and the Beast, right? Not the new one, the old one, the old Disney cartoon animation. The Beast is nowhere like human. It has, of course, it has limbs, but it's like totally different proportions. It has totally different body type, and still, when Beast moves, it looks like, yeah, something that big, that bulky can actually move like that. You'll start to feel like, yeah, this is how he should be moving in real life as well. Increase the end range. Last frame is missing in playtime. No, we are not adding that intentionally, because that last frame, what happens during that last frame is ball hits the ground. It's so fast that it immediately goes up. So it doesn't hug the ground there. Right? If I increase the frames at the end, although this is what you wouldn't notice, right? But now you'll see the slight stickiness at the bottom. It feels like the ball is jumping on some liquid surface or honey or something. It's a bit sticky at the bottom. If I increase this frame even more, this gets more aggressive. So now it looks like ball is actually just stuck on the ground and jumping back up again. So with this, it looks like ball is jumping on a hard surface. So that frame is intentionally gone, because this frame, if you include this frame, it's basically in the animation for 2 frames consecutively. And since we are animating on once, there is no frame where you see any frame is having its exposure for 2 frames. So yeah, that's why the last frame is gone. I didn't know about shift control. Yeah, that's a pretty goofy shortcut. See, 2 frames of same pose. I got it. Nice. All right, so that's all the messages, all the doubts. If you guys have any other doubts, you can always ask them in the comment section. I'm sure I'll reply them back. So yeah, that's bouncing ball for you guys, and I hope you learned something today. I hope this will help you in learning 2D animation. And yeah, have your lunch if you haven't already, and have a good day. Happy Ganesh Chaturthi, everyone. I'll see you again next time, maybe Wednesday. Um, just for teaching on Wednesday, but